I loved working in the hospitals in Swansea as part of my degree. That meant I had patient interaction from very early on in my course, which is just amazing for your communication skills.
Hello and welcome to the International Student Experience, a Swansea University podcast where we delve into the stories and journeys of students from around the world who've chosen to study here in the UK. Today I'm joined by Ruchika Nongrom. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll be talking about Ruchika's story. So Ruchika, if you could just give us a quick introduction about who you are, where you're from, and what your educational journey has been.
Okay, so hello, my name's Ruchika. I am just about to graduate from a 4-year degree, graduate entry medicine from Swansea University. This is my third degree in the United Kingdom. Quick recap of my educational journey. I came to the UK at 18, did my bachelor's in biomedical sciences from University of Sheffield, took a bit of a gap year, worked around a bit, roamed around a bit, came back to London this time and did my master's in regenerative medicine from Queen Mary. And then I worked for a year, then COVID happened, and then I joined Swansea University for their graduate entry medicine program, which is sort of like an accelerated version of the full 5-year or 6-year degrees that give you the MBBCH degree. But yeah, Swansea gives you the option of doing it in 4 years, and that's what I did.
Amazing. That's quite a journey. That's quite a lot of education. What was it about? How did you find Swansea? What was it about Swansea that drew you here?
I didn't know much about Swansea before I applied to Swansea. It wasn't that I was aware of it in any way, but once I started applying, so the criteria that I had in my head was I've already got degrees, so I don't want to join an undergraduate program because that would be me at 22, 24 studying with 18-year-olds. So ideally, I wanted to get into a medical school, which was a graduate entry medical school. And back in my time, I'm talking about like 2018, 2019, when I looked into the application cycle, there were about 13 medical schools in the UK which offered graduate entry. And within them, there were different types of graduate entries. In some of them, the first 2 years, you'd be in an accelerated course, and then you'd be shuffled back into the normal 5-year program kids. The other was like Swansea. So Swansea only does graduate entry medicine. And that was the first thing that pulled me that, yes, that's what I want. I want to be with people who are around my age or maybe even older and have a bit more wider experience. So that put Swansea on the list, bit top 5. The second thing was in Swansea, there's no requirement of having some specific topics or subjects as your background. Some universities, they need you to have studied physiology at undergrad or anatomy at undergrad. But Swansea is like, just do a degree. Do a degree, do well in that degree, and then you can study medicine here. So that sort of gave me the idea that, well, that means the people I study medicine with will come from many different backgrounds because there's no requirements, there's no limitations. Everybody has to give an entrance exam, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I put Swansea as number 1 choice and went through the process of medicine, which is you go through UCAS. So I picked Swansea, I picked 3 other universities, went through the application process, went through the GAMSAT, which is almost 7-hour-long exam that you have to write. So did that and just waited for results. Swansea was one of the first places to contact me about the interview.
Okay.
So this was all, bear in mind, during the COVID era. So my interview, usually people, just like in my situation, who haven't heard the university or haven't visited the university, they usually get a chance to visit the university for their interviews. Mm-hmm. But mine was during COVID. So I had come all the way that far in the application process and I still had never seen Swansea. But I did the interview online. It was a panel interview. Put me right at ease. It wasn't like too structured. It was more about a conversation. They asked me questions about my personal statement, so gave me more talking points. Mm-hmm. Did that, had a really positive experience with the interview. And that just sort of stemmed it. I was like, if they pick me after this interview, if I make the cut, I'm going to pick Swansea. And that's what I did. So I had gone through the entire process and accepted Swansea's offer without actually ever been in Swansea. But for the interview, I actually looked up what is Swansea, apart from the course. I knew everything about the medical course. I knew everything about what they offered in their graduate entry medicine program, but I didn't know about Swansea. So then right before the interview, I looked it up that it was close to the beach, which is always a plus point. It was not too big, so it would again have the student feel. I assumed that I would find places which were student friendly. I assumed there would be an entire area or a locality dedicated to student housing, which there is. So yeah, I figured all that out right before the interview in case they asked me, oh, what made you pick Swansea? So I was looking up. I knew what made me pick the course, but then I knew what made me pick Swansea. The beach was a big draw. And I had previously studied at Sheffield, so I was really close to Peak District, and I loved hiking in the Peak District. And then when I was looking at Swansea, I was like, there's the Gower. I can do the exact same thing here. Have nicer views, maybe have some cliffs. And, if I keep hiking, I can go from one beach to the next. So that all sealed it for me, because if given the option or if not really agitated, I would just be in my room. But the outdoorsy quality of Swansea made sure that I actually left the house, didn't just do medicine, actually went outside. So yeah, that's why I wanted Swansea.
Amazing. So you're already getting a good vibe from the people you've met online and you've read up about it. How did then that compare when you first came here?
It just continued on that trajectory. The first thing, the good vibe that I got when I did the interview, I loved it. The people were so nice to me, and the way they talked, they gave me the chance of talking about my experience. Obviously, my experience was quite varied compared to other people who might be applying to the course. So they gave me enough amount of time to talk about it, but also asked me really good questions. And at the end of the interview, everybody always asks, oh, so do you have any questions for us? And I was like, yeah, actually, I would like to know how much support there is for students who are transitioning from different degrees. Because as I said, Swansea didn't have a requirement that, you had to have a specific degree. And I really loved their answer, because they said the way the curriculum is structured, you'll have all the support you need, and they revisit topics. So you have it once in year one, might not get it 100%, you might get it 50%, 60%, but then that topic gets revisited next year.
Right.
So just reinforces your learning. So I was like, you know what, that sounds really nice. I love it that I'm not expected to understand everything in one go. So I was like, so that's a good vibe. The first time I came here was in September of 2020, and I came here for an occupational health check, which is a requirement for medical students.
Right.
And I had the really nice opportunity to stay at a really cutesy Airbnb up in Sketty. And again, the people there were really nice. And they gave me the idea that, you know what, if you're going to the university for the first time, why don't you walk through Singleton Park? And it's really nice right now because it's September, and it'll give you a feel for what the usual commute might be like. So that's what I did. I walked through Singleton Park. That again just reinforced, being outside, getting a bit of sun, because September 2020 was looking fondly quite warm. To be fair, the entire COVID era was quite nice weather. So I walked through Singleton Park, got to university, and I just felt like, this feels like small town uni vibe. Mm-hmm. It's not massive. It's still a campus, because obviously it's not always a given that all universities will have a full-on campus. Sometimes they have one building dedicated in city centre. You'd have another building somewhere far, far away. And usually the medical school is always separate from the university, because the medical school is sometimes closer to the hospital. Lucky for me, the hospital is right next to the university here. So yeah, I came for my occupational health check. That's where they jab you as well, just to check your bloods and everything. And that was a positive experience. So overall, when I walked into Singleton campus from Singleton Park, I just felt nice. The weather was nice. It was quite empty because, again, COVID. It was quite empty, but I felt nice being there.
Yeah.
Because it had been a while since I was in university, because before that, masters, you don't really have a lot of campus time. You're doing your own research. And after that, I was working. So again, not a lot of being where all the students are vibe. So I loved that. I really loved it. And once the course started, hats off to the people who adapted the course around that time, because we had like a mix of in-person and online teaching. And I love that they actually still tried to keep it as interactive as possible, given the limitations of Zoom. So yeah, it just continued. I don't think I've had a massively negative sort of outlook about anything, purely because it's hectic. I haven't had the time to sit and think about, this is not something I like, or this is not going as well as I hoped it would, because obviously it's just been so hectic. But I don't know, I just liked it. I liked it. I like Wales in general. I find Wales to be quite friendly. Anywhere I've roamed around in Wales as well, which the medical degree allows you to do, I have found it's been quite friendly.
Okay. So where have you been able to go to in Wales as part of the degree?
Thank you for asking. So as part of a degree, I do placements. So we are all given clinical placements, and those clinical placements start way back in year 1.
Okay.
So year 1, I was quite local, which is thank God, because that means I got to be a bit, settled in Swansea before they sent me out. But since then, I've been to Aberystwyth. I've been to Glangwili, which is a hospital in Pembrokeshire. And I've also been to Prince Philip, which is a hospital in Connectly. Aberystwyth was the furthest I've been.
Yeah.
So that's like a 3.5 hours bus journey. And love the town. It's so cute. Because the clinical placement I did in Aberystwyth was based in a general practitioner's office.
Right.
So that meant every day I got to put on my formal clothes instead of scrubs and go to the clinics, attend clinics, see a few patients of my own. But because it's GP, it had a nice 8 to 6 or 9 to 5 vibe. So that left me quite a bit of time to explore Aberystwyth itself. Right. And that was great.
What about in Swansea? What's the culture like here for like outdoorsy or for cafes and things? Where have your favourite places to go been?
I feel Swansea does brunch very well. Because I obviously have favorite brunch spots. The one that I frequented the most, which I would not be surprised if they now know my face, if not my name, is Square Peg.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So Square Peg is one of the places I have been to on an average twice every month. On an average.
And it's only a few minutes walk from campus as well.
Exactly. And it's a nice walk because, again, you can walk through Singleton Park to get there and back. And sometimes, and this was an extreme situation and rare, but sometimes if there was a massive gap between lectures, say I had a 9 a.m. lecture in the morning and then I didn't have anything until like 1 p.m., I'd go to Square Peg. Because it's convenient.
Yeah.
You can get there. And I love Square Peg because it's very seasonal. So even with me being very staunch on what I like, what I don't like, I still got to try a few things when I went to Square Peg. And it's a nice vibe. I love the outdoor seating. I love that they're pet friendly. The amount of dogs I've had the opportunity to pet because that place is pet friendly is amazing. But Square Peg is not the only one. Square Peg is if you want to be close to uni and still have like the nice park walk. Then the other place, which I frequented quite a lot in the beginning because we were all going for the outdoorsy vibes, was the Secret Cafe.
Okay, yeah.
By the beach, which is amazing because it's literally on the beach. And that had its own benefits, obviously. But the best part was you could take out a iced coffee from them, have it as a takeaway or just right outside and still enjoy the beach. And during the time when we had to maintain social distancing in our bubbles, Secret provided the absolutely perfect opportunity for us to like meet because it's outside, no concerns. There you go. Apart from that, the one that I like the most, this is a bit of a trek. Booze in Mumbles. Have you been?
No, don't know that one.
So Booze in Mumbles is a very nice vegan and gluten-free friendly place. They do amazing breakfast wraps. And it is just so good. I am not vegan or vegetarian or requiring a gluten-free diet by any means, but Booze does it really well.
Okay.
So that's a bit of a trek. For that one, you have to take the Santander bikes, which you get from Singleton campus. because you've got the Santander bikes right next to Fulton House. So you take the bikes, you cycle along the Mumbles Road, along the whole bike path, and you go all the way to Mumbles, where you've got Bistro Pier and all the other restaurants. Park your cycle there, go up from there, past a few nice cottagey places, past a few charity shops, and, all those thrift stores, and then you've got booze. That one is a trek, but it's really nice. And plus you get to, cycle through Mumbles, so that's also nice.
Do you do a lot of cycling?
I do. I have a cycle of my own, which I have sadly neglected in the last year. But before that, what I did, I think I did it quite early on. The first year I was here in Swansea, I went to a secondhand shop, got myself a nice cycle, and I used to cycle to uni. So any time the weather allowed it, I used to cycle to uni, which was useful because, number one, on my way here, it's all downhill because I lived up in Uplands, Sketty area. So for me to get to uni in the morning, it's all downhill. I could be here in 10 minutes, which could take me up to 25-minute walk. So that was ideal. I loved doing that. I loved taking my cycle and then going all the way along the Mumbles Road, along the beach to Mumbles Pier.
Okay.
So that was one of the things I did quite a lot. We started out as not a cycling society or a club, but a bunch of graduate entry medical students. We, just to sort of get to know each other, we were like, hey, does anybody want to cycle along that path?
Okay.
And that's how I met a few of my batchmates.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So that was a nice bonding activity. Everybody's got cycles. If they don't have their own, they take out the Santander ones from either the town or Singleton campus. And we just cycle around Mumbles.
That's a really great way to meet new people as well.
It
and get
is.
to know people that you study with.
It was, because obviously, because of the hybrid structure, we might not have had as much face-to-face time with our colleagues and batchmates as we otherwise would. So these kind of outdoorsy activities, which Swansea provided a lot of, that's how we actually got to know each other. So yeah, we used to cycle to Mumbles Pier, and thankfully, because I was looking at all the outdoorsy stuff that I could do in Swansea, I knew that there were sunflower fields in Rossley.
Oh, yes.
So that's a bit of a time-sensitive thing, because that's only like June to September. I would say June to August, actually. But that was another thing, because on the weekends in the summer, the bus was free. And that gave us another outdoorsy, idea. Go there, have a bit of a walk through the sunflower fields. The sunflowers were absolutely amazing. The average sunflower was 1.5 times my head. So, yeah, it was fun.
Nice. With the access to the bikes, and you mentioned the public transport, there's a lot to do in Swansea. Do you find it all still, though, quite accessible to get to? Yeah, because as I said, Swansea still has a small town vibe. It has still a community vibe. So it's still quite accessible. And depending on where you're living, which mostly as students, from recommendations and from the university campuses, we usually do live either in the university housing, which is right on the campus, or people have these areas like Uplands or Bryn Mill, which are like student-friendly areas with student housing with private landlords. So where I lived, ideally for me, it was 20 minutes walk to uni. Mm-hmm. And in the other direction, it was 20 minutes walk to the city centre. So I found it quite accessible in terms of just gathering things or going to supermarkets and such. But at the same time, from university, if you actually count it, and I did during one of the other student ambassador things we did, I actually saw how long it takes to get from Fulton House in Singleton campus to the beach. It takes less than 10 minutes. So that talk about accessible. That is, the beach is very accessible. And that's obviously a big plus. On the other side of it, if you're going to town, because the Swansea indoor market is right in the middle of town, and it has so many different outlets, I found that to be one of the best places, the most accessible places to get regular stuff. Yeah, so I find Swansea quite accessible. Even most of my brunch spots, apart from booze, walking distance. If not, the public transport. Because I think now there's 3 dedicated bus lines which go from campus to campus. So that's useful to me because
Otherwise I wouldn't go to Bay campus. If the bus wasn't so conveniently, if you could not conveniently take the bus from our campus, which is Singleton, to Bay campus, I wouldn't go to Bay campus at all.
Fair.
Yeah. I would only go there for exams,
Yeah.
which I did. And I took the bus. So yeah, I find it quite accessible. The only thing is the buses may not be as frequent as I want them to be, but they do cover all the areas that I want them to cover.
What about the people of Swansea? We'll start by looking at your time here at the university itself. What about the staff you've had to work with, your lecturers, the doctors that teach you, or the support staff? Like, how have people been here?
I think the people have always been quite helpful. And even before being helpful, they've always given off this very approachable vibe. So I wasn't at any time scared that, oh, I don't have anyone to talk to. I don't have anyone to ask advice from. In terms of the lecturers and such, so as you said, most of them are actually doctors. So I found that quite refreshing because people who are teaching me are actually practicing that medicine right this minute. They're taking time now. They might have like a morning off from their clinics, or they are in between surgeries and they've taken that 45 minutes to 1 hour to give me this lecture. So I just liked that because that meant whatever they're telling me is up to date. It's the absolute most current thing there is out there in their field. And they would obviously know. I loved that because the way they structured our program, each week had a theme.
Right.
It might change in the future, but graduate entry medicine in Swansea University always has week 1 as diarrhea. And yes, and it sticks in everybody's mind. What a
start! What a way to start!
It's an amazing start. It's an amazing start towards a running finish. But so week 1 is always diarrhea week, but that means that everything is centered around that part of your system. So we had lecturers who were gastroenterologists. We had lecturers who did general surgery. We had lecturers who, mostly were pediatricians because diarrhea is big in kids. So they followed the theme, and that just made it's easier to grasp the knowledge when it's only centered around a tiny part of the whole. And yeah, they do that with each week. So you might start on diarrhea week, but there's a swollen finger week. There's what other weeks? Ooh, I'm trying to remember because lectures are only in year 1 and year 2. What was a nice week? The pregnancy weeks were nice.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have these amazing models they use to sort of explain to you how it all works. And I found them absolutely really great study aids. The models showing you how exactly the baby travels through the canal to be delivered. So I quite like that about my lecturers and stuff because they brought in all the teaching aids that they possibly could. They brought in all the different types of teaching mechanisms they possibly could. They adapted, in my opinion, really well to Zoom because then we used to have quizzes on Zoom. We used to have polls on Zoom, which was a really good way of, like, me personally, I don't like to raise my hand.
Okay.
Because I don't want that spotlight on me. But then through Zoom and all that, I had the option of, oh, there's a poll going. I can be part of the poll because nobody knows what I voted for. So I did that. And they, obviously, because they adapted so well to it, my education did not suffer. And apart from just the lectures, because as an international student, I've actually had a lot of contact with the international students team. I've had a lot of contact with the team that deals with sort of all the societies because I was part of a lot of societies. So I've had a lot of contact with the people in the Students' Union. And first and foremost, they've always been helpful. But number 2 is they are ready with answers, which helps. So if I do have a query, I'm not worried that, oh, somebody will not know off the top of their head what I really need. For example, as an international student, there are certain requirements from the UK border agency that I need to have a certain amount of attendance. I need to have a certain amount of face-to-face check-ins. And the International Student Life, so I don't know if they've changed their name now, but they used to be the ones who used to check in with me. And that used to be quite good. Like, even if everything is going fine, just a random email from them saying, hi, just checking in, all good. And, responding to that, I'd be like, yeah, all good. Can't think of anything going off that I'm not worried about or anything. And yeah, so they helped a lot with that. And I hope I helped in return as well, because as an international student, I was happy to do webinars for incoming students or prospective students. So everything I've learned from my experience of going through the application process for a UK university multiple times, international students, the team gave me the opportunity to share it with prospective students. Loved working with them. I also got to work with the societies, the sports societies teams and the cultural societies teams, because as the SU, they do quite a lot of our extracurricular activities. And that was just brilliant, because if you let it, medicine can become your life. Being a medical student can become your full identity if you let it. So it was good that the Students' Union was so smooth running that I had a lot of opportunities to join different societies. I even chaired a society or two because I was on 2 different societies, medicine related, medicine adjacent, but still on the fun side. I was on the committee when we started the Anatomy Society in Swansea.
Oh, cool.
So this was the first year that Swansea had Anatomy Society. And I was on that committee. So we started it from the ground up. So the SU was quite helpful in having that, sorted for us, that this is how a society works, this is your function, this is the help we can provide. They were amazing. The year after that, I rejuvenated. So it existed, but Surgical Society was not doing a lot for the few years that COVID had happened. So we rejuvenated the Surgical Society, and people from the SU, in my year, it was Sam who was in the SU, and they really helped get that started. Because obviously we came to them with all these random questions. How do I take money out? How do I give someone money? And if I want more money, but we don't have any money because we're a free society, how do I get more money? And they were really helpful with that, because the SU obviously has grants. Mm-hmm. And I thought, because we do a lot of fun educational stuff, let me see if, we qualify for it. And thankfully we did. So yeah, I've found any person I've interacted with has, number 1, been helpful, and number 2, been really approachable. So I am actually quite keen on going back to them with my questions. I'm not feeling like I can't. Yeah. And they gave me so many options. As a partial introvert, I don't really feel like talking to people. So you have the online chat function. You can just call them up. And the best thing, as a millennial, I love email. So yeah, emails back and forth, they have sorted out so much of my life. Emails with the university, emails with the medical school, emails with my personal tutor, because that's the other thing in terms of helpful people. At Swansea, the moment you come here, the moment you're a fresh student, you get assigned a personal tutor. That personal tutor stays with you throughout your 3 or 4 years of uni here, and they're your first point of contact. I actually used mine quite a lot. They helped me with my future interviews. They helped me provide references for jobs. They helped me with my questions and integrating, because obviously, even though this is my 3rd degree, I still might have questions about, how does the NHS work? Not actually worked in the NHS. Back home, we don't have NHS. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they were my first port of call, and they were really helpful.
Okay. So lots of helpful people over your time. So you mentioned societies. You've done a lot of work there. You've met people through the biking, through your course as well. Is it important, especially as an international student, is it important to make those connections and look outside your course and just exist outside your course?
100%. 100%. Because I feel, again, it's not just specific to medicine. It could be any course. It's very easy to get sucked in and then just letting that be your whole world. And for some people, it might work. For majority, I would say it would lack a balance.
Right.
So it's really important to have that outlet. And not just any outlet. You should have options in your outlet. I love it, but there's only so many times you can just go down to the beach. After a while, you will get bored, or it'll be the middle of December. And in December, you don't really want to go to the beach. The winds are quite harsh, and I can actually feel my cheeks hurting because it's so cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't want to go to the beach all the time. You need other outlets. So societies play a really important role in that, because number one, you join a society for any number of reasons. You join a society because, hey, that sounds nice, I want to know more about it. Or, hey, those people have the same ideas or have the same beliefs as me, I want to spend a bit more time with them. Or I just want to do an activity. I found out last year that there's a cocktail appreciation society. So that is my people. So you need those kind of things just to divert your mind away from your degree. And I think it's really important, especially as an international student, because not only are you away from home, which is fine because a lot of people are away from home, and this might not be your first experience being away from home. Most likely it is. But apart from that, you are away from home in a different country with a different culture, with a different language, possibly. So you need the societies to sort of give you a smaller group to interact with,
right,
to make you comfortable in your new home. So honestly, anytime somebody asks me on webinars and such, I always tell them, explore the pages that tell you about the sports and the cultural societies, because you don't want to be cut off from everything but your degree. So I think it's really important. The best way to actually immerse yourself in a new place, especially as an international student, is to join societies.
Okay.
Because you join societies during Freshers Week, there's absolutely no commitment required from your side. You join them because you think it sounds nice. Almost all the societies will have something sort of like a Freshers event. So you will meet other people who are hearing about the society for the first time right there with you. Or you will meet the people who run the society and they take you through sort of like an induction. So, you're not stranded. You're not already expected to know things. As you might for some things in your degree, you might already be expected to know, hey, you should have studied that in high school, or you should already be familiar with this concept. But when you join societies, it's a blank slate.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody joins together in Freshers Week. They have Freshers themed work. Like, for example, one of the societies I joined was the Wilderness Society.
Okay.
And they used to organize walks, and one of the walks they organized was to Worm's Head.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Worm's Head is a really nice walk in the Gower.
Oh,
or beyond
beautiful.
the Gower. In the Gower, beyond the Gower. Anyways, so that was a good way for me to find other people who are happy to, go on nice leisurely walks, surrounded by a really nice, environmental. I think it is a preserved heritage site, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
It is a heritage. Yeah. So see, that was an added point. You're walking in a preserved heritage site, which Wales has many of, I think. So yeah, so it just made me, comfortable talking to people. And regardless of how many degrees you've done, or regardless of how extroverted you are, you need that exposure.
Yeah.
Societies provide that, especially as an international student who you might be missing home. So you want to look for a society that reminds you of home.
Yeah.
For example, I'm from India. There's an Asian society. There's a Hindu society here in the Students' Union. And I love that because they do a lot of our cultural events. They do a few events surrounding around our holidays as well, the big auspicious holidays like Diwali and Holi. So yeah, it gives you a bit of a taste of home as well. I 100% recommend societies.
Did you also get that sort of vibe and the importance of being around people through the ambassador scheme? Is that why you joined?
Yeah. So again, when you are at university, let's be honest, university life is quite expensive. Having a social life at university is quite expensive. So nobody in their right mind is going to say no to a good part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the ambassador scheme is one of the best types of flexible jobs you can have when you're at university. It works so well because it's structured around you, unlike other part-time jobs. If you look for a part-time job outside the university, you are tied to their schedule. You're tied to when they need you to work. Whereas if you're part of the ambassador scheme, they understand you're a student, they understand your classes take priority, they understand your assignments take priority, and you can take flexible hours. That's one of the first reasons why I joined the ambassador scheme. It was flexible. Even if it is part-time, I wasn't tied to no, I have to work 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. or something like that. I could pick and choose when I wanted to work. I can pick and choose what type of work I wanted to do. For example, as part of the ambassador scheme, I've worked quite a few open days. I love working open days. I love talking to prospective students. I love talking to prospective students' parents because it's not the 18-year-old, 17-year-old kids who are speaking. It's the parents who've read the brochures, who've read the pamphlets, who've, visited the website. They're the ones with the main questions. And I've enjoyed talking to them. I've enjoyed trying to give even them like 2 pieces of advice, which makes them feel better about their, tiny baby coming to university. Yeah, because the ambassador scheme helped me have that.
Right.
I love talking to people. I am a partial introvert, but I love talking to people on things I like talking about.
Yeah.
So I love talking about medicine. So usually when I work the open day, it's always a given that, hey, if someone comes up to you and asks what you do, give them a good introduction of what you study, give them a bit of brief background on what it is that you study and how it is structured here in Swansea. And I love doing that. I love talking about the spiral curriculum. And through the ambassador scheme, I got to do that. Another thing I got to do that through the ambassador scheme and being an international student is do webinars for international students, because as international students, it's not feasible to actually visit the university you're applying to. You might be sitting somewhere in Fiji and applying to universities in UK, USA. You can't actually visit them wherever the mood strikes you. So I did a lot of webinars for students, prospective students who were coming from abroad. And because I had been through the process myself, I was able to answer their questions. So yeah, because of the ambassador scheme, I got to do that. The ambassador scheme also introduced me to one really nice way of sharing my knowledge, which was through blog posts.
Okay.
So I used to write for the student room as part of the Swansea University team because I was a current Swansea University student. So I had lived an experience of what it means to be at Swansea. I was also an international student, so I could write blog posts about things to bring from home. And I wasn't talking about things to bring, all the, nice kitschy stuff or the cluttery stuff that you want to keep as mementos. No, I talked about bringing Maggi and masala from India because you will miss that if you're an Indian student. So Maggi is an Indian noodle. It's amazing. It's not like cup noodles because it doesn't come in a cup, but it's more like those Korean noodles. Yeah. But they're specific to India, and the spices they use in it are specific to India. So that's the kind of blogs I wrote, that if you're coming from India, you're gonna miss that. So bring that. If you're traveling from a faraway location like from the US, make sure you check out the websites, and make sure you check out the websites of different airlines, because some airlines offer student tickets, which just means that instead of a 23 kg bag, you can have a 30 kg bag or a 35 kg bag. So these were like the tips and tricks I knew from my own experience. The ambassador program gave me, an outlet to share it with others. So yeah, I recommend being a student ambassador to anybody who's looking for a part-time job with flexible hours.
Okay.
Because that's what it is. It's really flexible. You'll get an email. People are looking for ambassadors for an XYZ event. It's on this date. These are the shifts available. You check your timetable right then and there. Can I work it? If I can, you put in that, yeah, I'm available, and they'll get back to you. There's no commitment until it's logged in. And even after it's logged in, they are quite understanding people. So if you realize, well, I actually can't make it anymore because I'm doing some assignment or I'm doing something else, you give them enough warning and it's usually all right. Yeah, you can't have that much flexibility in a part-time job outside the university.
No, it's definitely important to have that flexibility, but also exist outside of your course. Have you enjoyed being in Swansea?
I have 100% enjoyed being in Swansea. I have enjoyed the outdoor stuff. I've also enjoyed the indoor stuff. I loved working in the hospitals in Swansea as part of my degree. So yeah, I can't think of anything that I haven't enjoyed. I've enjoyed the course itself. I've enjoyed the lectures. I've enjoyed the clinical placement component of it because that meant I had patient interaction from very early on in my course, which is just amazing for your communication skills. It's amazing to get rid of all the jargon that you actually learn in lectures, but then you can't actually use to communicate with patients. So yeah, I've enjoyed having clinical placements, not just in Swansea, but outside of Swansea in, say, Aberystwyth. I've enjoyed that. I've also enjoyed, like, anybody who comes to visit me, people from my undergrad days or my family, when they come to visit me, I've enjoyed taking them around Swansea. I've enjoyed taking them around Mumbles and the beach. I think overall, as a student, it's not hit me yet, but I think after graduation next week, it'll hit me that I'm going to miss Swansea.
Okay, final question for you. What advice would you give to a student who's considering not just coming to Swansea, but considering like leaving their home country, leaving wherever they're from to come study here in the UK?
The first advice I would give is do your research. And when I say research, I don't just mean around the course, because more or less, every university will give you a bit of a uniform course delivery. You study engineering, the delivery of engineering from one university to the other, it won't be that different. But when I say research, especially if you're an international student, I mean research the area in terms of what's available, research the area in terms of accessibility, because it's not always easy for you to travel from an international location to the university. You need to know if it's near an international airport. You need to know if the connection links are good enough in terms of railways or other things to get you frequently back home if you can manage it. And you need to research how good is it in terms of being adaptable for your health needs. Because obviously, if you're an international student, leaving your home country, you'll get homesick about your food. So are there places around the university you're researching where you can find home food?
Mm-hmm.
Are there places with sort of like greengrocers which carry stuff that reminds you of home? So yeah, that kind of research. Because almost all universities in terms of education, I'm not saying it's going to be uniform, but you'll get the studying material out of it. It's the outside the university stuff you need to worry about. And if you are leaving your home country, potentially for long stretches of time, you want to live in more of a community field rather than a very sterile field. So you want to find universities which have a campus culture instead of just having isolated buildings all over the country or all over the city. You want universities that actually have, campus activities. For example, there's Go Global and all the other SU-related activities which organizes trips. So you want that because you're leaving your country. You want to see more of this country. So yeah, research those things, not the course. Do the course research as well, but research beyond.
Thank you, Ruchika, and thank you for listening to this episode today. If you want to find out more about studying in the UK or listen to other episodes in this series, please visit our website, swansea.ac.uk/international.